Who are the best teams and partners for the new LR Teq Turles? How's it, everybody? Celtic Link here. We got another Dokkan Battle video for you here today. We are taking a look at the brand new yellow coin LR Teq Turles and providing you what we believe are his best teams and partners as a yellow coin support unit. So strap on in, because in this video we will hit a few major things. Number one, we are going to talk about the unit itself. We'll go over a brief kit overview. We'll talk about some of his priority links, as well as the partners who are going to best share those, and some teams that we can build around them. Stay tuned for the end, where you can check out a couple teams where you can utilize this character without having pulled them. So let's go ahead and start by taking a look at his kit. He is a space traveling warriors or low class warrior, category key 3, attack and defense 200%. He is greatly raising attack and defense for 1 turn, causing colossal damage and greatly lowering attack and defense of the enemy on his 12 key. On his 18 key, he is massively raising his attack and raising his defense for 1 turn, causing mega colossal damage to the enemy. He has an interest animation that activates when there's a space traveling warriors or terrifying conquerors ally upon his entry turn. It gives him key 6, damage reduction rate 10% for 1 turn, and space traveling warriors or terrifying conquerors allies key 1, attack 20%, and an additional key 1, attack 30% for characters on planetary destruction. So really, when you look at this guy, despite the fact that he has a secondary low class warrior lead, he is primarily centered around that terrifying conquerors space traveling warriors setup, and most of the teams we're going to build are going to center around that setup. Basic effects include attack and defense 250%, a chance for a critical hit, and damage reduction rate 50%, guard all attacks, defense 300%, and when attacking with 18 or more key, 200% attack, and launching an additional super attack. For every super attack performed with 18 or more key, he gets key 3 up to 6. When attacking with 24 key, he gets 200% attack and an additional 20% chance to crit. For every super attack performed at 24 key, he gets another key 3 up to 6. So you really want to prioritize getting that 24 key so you can get that additional key build up for this character. Basically an additional 12 key, right? So essentially, after 2 supers at 24 and 18 key, he will have basically a guaranteed 24 key at that point. When the domain Tree of Might is activated, he has an additional key 2 per key sphere obtained, 5% recovery per key sphere obtained up to 50, 200% attack and chance for a critical hit 30% when attacking, and damage reduction rate 25% when receiving an attack. Now, in order to activate that domain, you will activate it through his active skill, creating the Tree of Might domain, which can be activated 50% or less HP, or when you have another Space Traveling Warriors or Terrifying Conqueror ally starting from the 3rd turn from his entry turn. The domain will buff Space Traveling Warriors and Terrifying Conquerors and for 15% defense and an additional 10% attack and defense rather, and an additional 10% for characters also on planetary destruction. It will also increase the damage received by superclass enemies and allies by 10%. So really powerful domain, really useful domain for the Terrifying Conquerors team. It's just that little extra oomph. It's the one thing that Metal Cooler team needed, that little extra oomph, a big attacker with some big support to really help the team move, right? So with that in mind, let's kind of talk about some of the things we want to look at in his teams, right? So shout out to the guys over at the Dokkan FYI. We love using this site for talking about link skills because it provides such a useful tool for managing link skills. So we'll drop the link to this website in the description down below, so make sure you check that out. But taking a look at this character for his links, right? The main links we want to focus on with Turles are his Big Bad Boss's links, Brutal Beatdown, Fierce Battle, Legendary Power, and Thirst for Conquest, because these are going to be the ones that you can activate the most. Now, of course, if you were able to activate all of them, right, Big Bad Bosses, Brutal Beatdown, Destroyer of the Universe, Fierce Battle, Legendary Power, Team Turles, Thirst for Conquest, you're actually getting a significant bonus to the attack, right? We're getting 25% from Big Bad Bosses, another 15 from Brutal Beatdown, so that's 40% right there. Another 25 from Destroyers of the Universe, right? So that's 65% attack right there. Another 20 from Fierce Battle, so 85% attack right there. 15%, so 100% with Legendary Power active when performing a super attack, and an additional 15%, so 115% attack from links alone you can get at level 10 links. So I mean, obviously you want to prioritize those, but the reality is a lot of these you're not going to be able to activate all the time. Things like Team Turles, Destroyers of the Universe are going to be tough to activate for him because of who the characters are that have these other links. But regardless, if you can prioritize it, he's going to get a significant buff from his links, right? So if we take a look like at his 6 link partners, right, his best link partner is actually the LR STR Turles. Unfortunately, this character at this point is 2 years old, so not the best partner, but I mean, on the Metal Cooler team there's kind of enough juice that he can live most normals in most boss situations. So he's kind of, especially once that domain pops up, he's kind of not in a bad position on the Metal Cooler movie bosses Space Traveling Warriors team. So he is an option, and right, he shares pretty much everything except Team Turles, which the only thing you're losing is that crit chance and that key too. So it's not the worst thing in the world. He shares 5 links with the Almond and Raisin, what is it? The Almond and Raisin and the Daes and Cacao, right? So I'm assuming these guys are going to get a sub EZA during this celebration. They are on the Yellow Coin banner. After all, I imagine within 24 hours of seeing this video, if you guys are watching this now, you're probably going to get you're probably going to see their sub EZA. Great partners. The only issue is they don't give big bad bosses, so you're losing a lot of attack power. Now thankfully, a lot of teams you're going to see here, we have big bad bosses able to be activated via the floating support, so that might not be the worst thing in the world for him. Now where things are really going to fly for him are between his 3 and 4 link partners. He's got a 4-link partner with Omega and Goma, who are 2 staples to the Metal Cooler team. Although you might be dropping Omega in favor of Turles because of Turles' domain is much better for the Space Traveling Warriors team. But with that said, it's still very helpful. But Goma is almost on every setup for Metal Coolers. So if you're running Metal Coolers team, you do want to have Goma. They are great partners. You get another 3 links from the Fizz Cooler, the Fizz King Cold, the Teq Metal Cooler, the Garlic Jr. All of these are pretty staple units on the team here for Metal Cooler's team. If you're running Deborah's Terrifying Conqueror's team, right, LR Bobbity he shares 3 links with, which isn't terrible. If you're running a variant of Terrifying Conquerors under Baby, he also works there. Movie bosses, right, minus the big bad bosses, right, you're still getting 3 links from Golden Frieza, which isn't terrible. He's a pretty big unit on a lot of those teams. So I mean, as you can see, you're going to be getting quite a few links from some pretty staple characters on a lot of teams. Rose, heck, Slug can even be used in some situations. Broly Trio still has some decent use. Getting into the 2 links, there's some decent 2-link partners, but they, you know, you're probably not going to find a lot of teams to use them on, such as the God Vegeta, right? They're not going to be sharing a lot of teams. Under the movie bosses for the Beerus, you might find yourself linked with these guys, but again, you're not going to be having that big bad bosses. A few teams under like AGL Vegeta or Terrifying Conquerors, you've got Raditz as potential support. So you know, there's not terrible options. Pure Sans leads, not that I recommend running them there, because you do want those Space Traveling Warrior setups, but you know, with the Majin Vegeta, the Kaigoku, right, all the major staple Pure Sans he's got some decent links with, but you know, you're probably not going to be finding them on the major teams, right? So the major units you want to be looking at for their for his links are Team Turles, the EZAs, and the Goma. These guys being secondary, although you might be finding yourself more often or not linked with the Fizz Cooler or the Metal Cooler. So with those partners in mind, we can now talk about some of the teams available to the Turles here. So for this video, we are using the Dokkan stats when we actually do the full complete guide, and I appreciate all of you guys who are tuning in still to these team guides and the complete unit guides. They do take a lot of time to put together, the new complete guides, so I appreciate your patience in that. But with that, right, we got a couple of teams set up here to run with the new with the new setup here. So let's start with probably the major team you're going to be running with with him, and that's this team here. So under the Metal Cooler right lead, this is probably going to be the most consistent, most basic team you're going to be running for the Turles, right? You could swap him in out for like King Cold or any other support, but you're pretty much going to be running something like this: Goma and Cooler on one rotation, and then Cooler and Turles on the other, with Floating Garlic Jr., Fizz Cooler, and Turles or King Cold. And as you can see, right, like the links are just so very perfect, right? You're getting 3 to 4 links with just about every character, right? You're with Turles on this rotation, right, you've pretty much got all 7 links active between the two here. You got Floating Cooler support for the 50% attack support, plus the additional 10% if he's floating in slot 3. So this is honestly a very synergistic team, and everybody here except for, well, actually everybody benefits from his domain. But those, especially like the Cooler and the Turles and the Metal Cooler, are really benefiting from Teq Turles' domain. A few other teams we got here, right? If we want to take a look at some of the other options here, as I said, we do have this team here. It's the same team, but with the King Cold. Another setup here. If you guys have the Golden Frieza, right, this is another setup you can run. You can run them under Golden Frieza's lead, right? Basically have a Golden Frieza on one rotation with the Cooler, a Golden Frieza on the other rotation with the Turles, and then have your floating characters here provide the big bad boss's support. I think this is probably the best way to do this if you've got him, just to kind of, if you're going to run Golden Frieza. There's a few events where you want to run double Golden Frieza, right? Like the Triku event is one of them, so it is very helpful to have a setup like this if you want to run that. So, just some options. Another option we've got still under the Golden Frieza lead. This one swaps in the Teq Turles, right? This just really helps out Turles get those extra links. And again, with the Golden Frieza target, you really don't ever have to worry too much about him having to take damage, because you can easily just protect. You could swap one of these into a floater position, right? You could do something like this, right? With this guy as your slot 1, this guy as your slot 2, and one of the Golden Friezas as a floater, and then now you've got protection for that Turles whenever he shows up on rotation. 2 protections for that matter, right? So that can really work out. Other team options you have, right? If you want to try to run the Teq Deborah, I don't recommend running Teq Deborah's team, to be completely honest, for him, but it is an option, right? You'll basically have one rotation of Deborah and one of his partners, either Babidi, Yakon, or Pui, and then you can have your Floating Cooler just to provide that support, and then you'll have one rotation of the Cooler and the Turles. Now, the only issue with this team is, of course, it only puts Turles on the 170 rather than the full 220. So just something to be aware of. But he can still provide that domain for that Terrifying Conqueror support. supports. Another option is the Movie Bosses team under the Beerus. I do recommend having half of your rotations be a Realm of God setup, either through Whis and Beerus or Whis as your partner for him. One floating Beerus, and then a setup here with the Turles and the Turles together. If you don't want to run him, you can run Metal Cooler if you've got him. This is just, you know, kind of an option you can try under the Beerus. Not the best team in the world to run after, to be completely honest, because I think you actually kind of slow down Beerus a lot by doing this, but it is an option. Beerus does benefit from the Space Traveling Warriors / Planetary Destruction domain, so something worth considering. I do think synergistically, right, it does kind of mess up your Beerus setup. And then finally, what you guys have been waiting for, right? If you want to try to run this well, actually, here we have no. Okay, here. Yeah, if you want to try to run this character, should you have not pulled him, unfortunately, this is about the best you're going to be able to do. And this team hinges on the EZAs if they happen. Now, of course, any of these EZAs can be subbed onto any of the other teams that I showed you. However, since we don't know for sure if all of these characters are going to ECA or not, I'm only saving it for the team to run if you don't have Turles. Now, with that said, if you don't have Turles, basically the only way to run him is either running Raditz or Fizz Turles as your lead. It just doesn't really work with any other setups. So, assuming Fizz Turles gets his EZA, you can run a Friend Turles, Space Traveling Warriors lead, and a and your own Fizz Turles EZA. Now, granted, that's only a 200% lead, but assuming they handle the EZAs like they handled God Goku, I don't think you're going to have too much issue there. Basically, you would run one setup, Turles and Turles together, Team Turles together, and then the Ammon and Raisin and the Fizz Turles together with floating Raditz, Cacao, and Dates, and let's assume they EZA this in Turles. If they don't, I mean, it's really hard to say who you could throw in here. Teq Raditz, I guess, works too to throw in here if you really want to toss him, and actually he would support a few of the characters here as well. The only problem with running that Teq Raditz is he does kind of want to, well, Fizz Raditz too for that matter, they do kind of want to be against those super class Goku enemies, so just something to be aware of. Because again, most of these teams assume you don't have AGL Vegeta, they assume you don't have like a team like this assumes you don't have Cooler, assumes you don't have Deborah, assumes you don't have AGL Vegeta. This is probably going to be the best way you can run Turles. So with that said, these are just a few of the different teams you can run for Turles. As a yellow coin LR, right, teams are harder to build around. There's only very specific there's pretty much almost anytime they do a yellow coin LR, right, the teams are pretty specific in how they want to be run. It's not like a Dokkan Fest leader where you can mix and match, toss them into different teams with different setups, right? It just doesn't really work that way. Yellow coin LRs tend to be very hyper specific, which is why the teams are a tad bit limited. Of course, this isn't a full exhaustive list, but just some of the teams that I felt like would work best with him. So guys, that is it for our video. If you liked the video, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you have not already. And in the comments down below, let us know, what teams do you like to run for the Teq Turles if you got them? If not, how do you, if you're watching this after the EZAs have already been announced, how do you like him so far with the EZAs? Let us know how these teams worked out for you in the comments down below. Otherwise, guys, as always, thanks for watching, and aloha.